Good Mom and Monday.
You're here at the Mistaken Mama podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Mandee.
And we are your hosts.
This week we are going into another little bit of a controversial topic.
A little bit?
We're going to talk about how feminism, current modern feminism, is kind of ruining the modern woman.
Yep.
Awkward.
But first, wins, fails, books.
Yes.
So I have a fail.
Okay, let's hear it.
So my husband usually gets off work at 6:30, meaning he'll be home by 7. He didn't get home until 9:30 last night. Okay, I wanted to see what your reaction was going to be. He locked his keys in the truck.
Oh, no.
My mom had to go rescue him. She brought him his Slim Jim that we have because he locks his keys in the truck too many times. So we have a Slim Jim.
Why does he leave him in the truck?
He didn't mean to.
How do you...
He left him in the ignition.
What is he doing?
I don't know. At his work, which is like 30 minutes away from our house. But so at like 5:30, which is like an hour before he gets off, he calls me and he's like, "Hey, babe, I left the keys in the truck this morning and I locked myself out. And I just remembered about it. And I need to find a way to get home." And it's his overtime shift. So like our next door neighbors who work the normal shift with him were not there.
Oh.
Or else I would have been like, we'll just get a ride with them tonight.
Yeah.
You can get the Slim
Figure
Jim
it in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing. And so I was like, okay. Let me call my mom. So I called my mom. I was like, hey, can you something?
Can you rescue my husband?
She's like, do you have a Slim Jim? I said, yes, we do. And she's like, okay, I'll drive over to your house, grab that, and then I'll drive over there. And so she got dressed really quick, went and got gas, came, grabbed the Slim Jim, and then met him at his work. And then they, at like, I think it was by like 8 o'clock, or maybe it was like 7:45, something like that. They had determined that they needed reinforcements. So, So they called Uncle Aaron.
Oh, no.
And his father-in-law, I think.
Oh.
Larry?
Oh, yes.
I'm pretty sure it was Larry. And they came and they helped. And then they were there for like another hour and a half.
Oh, man.
They got it, though, after being in the cold.
Ugh.
I have a couple pictures of them all just outside trying to get the truck unlocked.
What the heck? He needs to go make a copy of his key and just keep it in like something that he brings in.
I know.
His lunchbox, his wallet, his something.
Or
leave it with you and then you can just...
I would say probably best to leave it at home for things like that because his luck, he'd end up locking both of them in there.
What is he doing to lock his keys in the car?
I think it's just that it was early and he was just tired.
So it just left him in, got out of the truck, locked, shut.
Yeah, because there's nothing automatic about that thing.
Gotcha.
I mean, technically it's an automatic, but
right.
Other than that, like it doesn't have like a fob or anything.
Yeah.
And so it's all like manually lock it type thing.
Ugh.
And so he just always and just left him in the ignition.
Dang. Or maybe just like leave the window like just a crack.
But then anyone could have.
True.
Because he didn't even remember about it until like
later
on in the day.
Dang.
Yep. So he was there all late last night and he missed dinner. He missed tuck-ins, all of that. And so the kids were sad because it was like, I was hoping that it would have just been like a quick once my mom got there.
Right.
That didn't happen.
Clearly not.
Clearly.
Bummer.
Well, if the key hadn't been like very obviously in the ignition, I think after like a half an hour, my mom would have just taken him home and then he would have got a ride with the next door neighbors on the next shift that they worked. And he would have been fine to leave it in the work parking lot.
Right.
You know, because it was so obviously in the ignition.
Didn't want to risk that.
Didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But it sounds like it would have taken the person who potentially stole the car a little while to get in.
Well, unless they just broke a window.
True, yeah.
Which, yeah. So that's...
I guess people breaking in don't really care about that.
No. So that was last night's fail. Just kind of funny.
Joy.
And then I guess now you were You had a head cold. You mentioned it a few episodes ago. I now have it. My husband now has it, and he has the man cold. So, on top of his fiasco last night, he has a man cold.
So that's because
he
was so cold outside, Kaylee. Just kidding.
Poor baby.
Yeah, the head cold is not fun. Mine is still trickling.
Yep. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm a little muffled.
Yep.
In the sinuses.
Yeah.
But thankfully, it's literally just kind of just right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't affect like my stomach or anything.
No.
Doesn't affect my energy.
Yeah. It's just more annoying than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my cats have been fails. Like, blah, 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 blah.
You just lost your train of thought, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I mentioned a few episodes back that we got another cat.
Yes. Mittens, right?
Mr. Mittens, yes.
Mr. Mittens.
And that we are keeping him. Well, he's not the problem.
He's a sweetheart.
He is the sweetest cat. But my cat that we had prior to him, Ziva, is not a fan.
Not a fan.
And she has been peeing everywhere.
Especially this room.
Because he will come in and use her litter box, and I've tried to keep him out of here. And the second he uses her litter box, she thinks I have to lock this room down. I think is what goes through her head. I don't know. I'm not a cat. Yeah. So it's really fun. He has access to his other litter box, but he kind of seems, he's a really sweetie, but he also kind of seems a little bit like a dodo brain. And so I think he's just like, litter box, I'm going to use it, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm grateful. Thank you for using it. He has peed and pooped outside of his litter box like 1, maybe 2 times. Because he is also a very particular cat about his litter box. Mm-hmm. Some cats don't care how dirty it gets. He's like, after a day or 2, you need to clean it now. Or I will shit outside my litter box. So we learned that pretty quick. But yeah, so cat pee is the worst.
There was some on the floor when I came in this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then she's peed in your chair twice?
3 times.
3 times.
And once in yours.
And once in mine. Which was the day that I said we were talking about the pine sol.
Mm-hmm. And then she peed in our recliner chair once out in the living room. And she's peed on the floor in here like 3 times. And she's peed in the bathroom floor like 3 times. Thankfully, and knock on wood, she hasn't peed on any like fabric furniture.
Oh, yeah.
It's been leather, and it's been hard to clean still, but not as hard as like fabric would be.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the upside.
Oh, man.
If there is one, but yeah. So that's been fun. We're contemplating sending him out to the farm. That sounds bad, but Michael has a grandma that has a farm, and she has lots of cats out there. He would be very happy out there, but we're trying to make it work because he's just so sweet. Mm-hmm. And he's not the problem.
Yeah.
So we just got a cat pheromone diffuser that is supposed to help with like multiple cats in the home. I don't know. We're going to try it.
Could be gimmicky. Could work.
We're trying everything so that if we do have to send him out to the farm, we can be like, we literally tried everything.
Yeah.
So that's my fail.
You got any wins?
Well, it's been a while for you guys, but Cookie Day went really well.
It did.
It went really well.
We
didn't have the kids there the whole time like we have in the past. Mm-hmm. And that was great.
That was. The way that we did it this year was, so I joined her and her mom again this year. And her mom came and picked us up, and we went out to her house, and we did all of the baking. Just technically me and Mandee. Mm-hmm. Her mom was there. She was participating in spirit.
She had a toe procedure,
so she couldn't really stand and walk.
Yeah.
She did help a little bit.
Painful.
Yeah. She helped a little bit where we needed her, specifically rolling out the sugar cookies because me and Mandee suck at that.
Yes.
But other than that, me and Mandee we baked all of the cookies this year we made. And I did put this in the video of the cookie day one. It's a little blurb, what we ended up doing. But we made chocolate chip cookies. Did you hear my voice?
Yes, I did.
With chocolate chip cookies. Sugar cookies, obviously. We made a Deer Turds, aka Rice Krispie peanut butter chocolate balls that we rolled in powdered sugar, so it kind of looks like
Little
deer turd and snow.
Yeah.
We made the long ones.
The peanut butter oatmeal chocolate chip cookies.
Yep. Those. You made
and
snickerdoodles and then Oreo truffles and
cookie dough balls.
Both of those are you made the night before, though.
Yes.
I didn't participate in that part. So that is what we did.
Yep.
For cookie day. And then once all of that was done, then we had the husbands bring the children and then they decorated the cookies.
Yeah. It went really good.
Mm-hmm. It also didn't take that long.
It didn't.
I was expecting it to be.
And they all participated, I think, the whole time. I think there was a couple times they got up and went back, but I feel like the whole time. And I think it helped not having them there because they didn't get like tired, bored of being in that area. It was like all new.
Mm-hmm. And the babies, Ellie and Quincy, did not participate in decorating.
Yeah.
They did eat some cookies, though.
Yes, they did.
And Damon, I had mentioned on the Cookie Day episode that Damon would like bite his cookie when he ate them. He still did that this year.
Yes, he did.
He took a bite of 2 cookies and then also licked the frosting.
The whole bowl of frosting was just Damonified.
Yep. Which thankfully he only did that to one color.
Yeah.
The yellow, which my son loves yellow.
Which then he just kind of claimed as his own.
Yep. So pretty much every yellow cookie ended up being made by my son.
Yeah. And I think pretty much every yellow cookie minus like 1 or 2 ended up in your box.
Probably for good reason.
Yeah.
Because they had Damon spit.
But yeah, it went really good. So I think that would be my win.
Yeah, I would agree. It went great. And, kind of adding to the win a little bit. We're, still potty training Damon. He just really didn't take to it very well for a while. And then we like hardcore did it. And this was the first time that he was without a diaper away from home. He did great.
Yeah.
No accidents, no nothing. He went potty twice at your house. We brought our little potty, our toilet. Right. And he went on it twice while we were there. That was fantastic. I was 100% worried. Mm-hmm. But I am really proud of him. I would say that he's officially daytime potty trained.
Yeah. Yay.
I know. I'm so happy. Finally. We haven't had any accidents.
That's good.
Aside from like, if he gets in trouble and gets sent to his room, he tends to have an accident. Oh. But
it's related.
Yeah. I would say that's more him being upset and then, for whatever reason, releasing his bladder when he's upset. And so we've been mitigating that the best we can.
Yeah.
But for the most part.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Good.
Super proud. And he's been having a relatively dry diaper in the mornings.
Nice.
So I'm like, yes.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Nice.
And I think he's going to be pretty much all the way daytime potty trained, like no accidents other than the occasional one by New Year's, which was what I was hoping. Which obviously it's after New Year's for you guys.
So you met your goal.
I met my goal. That's what I wanted.
And Damon met your goal.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'm so glad. And I'm glad I decided to lock him in the kitchen. That sounds harsh. I barricaded so that Ellie wouldn't get in there. But he could get in and out just fine.
Yeah.
And because that's our only place without carpet.
Right.
It worked.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah, seriously.
Potty training boys is tough.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had experience with a girl, but it was not a fun experience.
No. Anna was so easy.
Yeah, I've heard girls are a lot easier. I don't know why.
And I have a feeling Ellie's going to be easier too, because she already is like, give me a diaper change.
Yeah. Actually, I have heard that girls just naturally don't want to feel dirty. And so that's why they potty train better or easier or faster, whatever you want to call it, is because they already have that just natural, I don't want to be dirty.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I think it's like an evolutionary thing.
I mean, I'm about it.
Yeah.
All about it.
Right.
Any update for your books? I mean, we recorded just a couple days ago.
I know.
So
Still trickling on the Aberrat book.
still reading Twilight.
Nice.
So. I think that's technically 3 episodes now where we've been reading the same book. But we also just recorded the previous episode, which was the New Year's one, literally like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So
maybe next one will be a little different.
Maybe next one I'll be on New Moon.
There you go.
See? We're getting somewhere.
And hopefully I'll be starting a new series.
Yes. On to the controversy.
Yeah.
So with the intro and the title of this episode, we tend to both hold the idea that modern feminism has, I wouldn't say completely ruined, but it has caused some issues with the modern woman.
Yeah.
So you came up with that topic for today.
Yes.
So I am going to have you kind of lead on that one because
Okay.
I kind of want to see where you're wanting to take this conversation, and I'll piggyback off of you.
Okay. Well, I thought of this because I've been watching a lot of clips, podcasts about this topic, and it just seems like let's call it the traditional woman, because that seems to be the biggest label, I guess, is what they're given. It seems like nowadays that's looked down upon. And
yes,
when
by traditional, do you mean like the housewife type?
I mean, yeah, the nurturing woman who stays at home and does most of the cooking, cleaning, and just makes the home a home, versus where feminism pushed us to of being the working woman. And while I don't disagree with that, I think, yeah, if you want to work, that you should be able to work. I just don't like that it's pushed women's like natural instincts away from like their day-to-day life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's almost turned it into like an insult.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're the housewife, so you just sit on the couch and watch TV all day.
Yeah.
Or you're a stay-at-home mom, blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
Whereas before, that was the ideal woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And, I would argue I am not somebody who enjoys chores, so I'm not saying that I would have made a traditional housewife. I would not have survived that life of being, that is like my sole duty was to just, I am solely a homemaker, and I dote on my husband hand and foot when he comes home from work. That is not something that I think is a good thing.
No.
But I do think that there is a place, and there should be a place for women to be able to be stay-at-home moms and it not be looked down upon as, oh, you're just mooching off your husband, or, oh, you have no motivation, you have no whatever.
Right.
I also think that has caused the, because we pushed for that right to work, right?
Yeah.
Which is great.
Right.
But it also made it to where, well, now society believes that we should live off of 2 incomes.
Right.
And it has made single income families have a really big issue because the society has been like, okay, well, women are working now.
Yeah.
So realistically, 2 incomes is what we should be striving for.
Yeah.
As to base off of how expensive it is to live.
Right.
Not just 1 income.
Yeah. And I don't, like you were saying, I don't necessarily agree with like full traditional woman. Like I do think that women should be able to go out of the house and work if they want to work, and they don't have to like dote on their husband hand and foot.
Or have a husband if they don't want to at all.
Yeah,
100%.
that too. But I don't like that it's, like you were saying, if I choose to stay home, I don't know how many times I'm asked, well, when are you going back to work? When are you going to start looking for work again? And it's like, right now I'm in my era of just taking care of my kids, and I chose that. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to choose that. But why am I looked down upon for choosing that? Where that used to be the norm.
Yeah. I also think that modern day feminism has turned into anti-man.
Yeah.
And it is not anymore about empowering women. It's, we try to, I mean, I don't,
It's like we
I
try
don't
to
want
be
say
better.
Yeah. And it's like modern day feminism has kind of hidden behind the, it's all about empowering women, but it has turned into anti-man. Like I see, like I'll be scrolling through my For You page on TikTok or whatever, and I'll see lives of people being like, do we really need men?
Right.
And it's like, yes.
Right. If we want to keep the population going.
At its most basic.
Yeah. At like literal.
If we're not going to include any other reason why we would need men,
That's the biggest one.
that is like the, at its core, we at least need them for that purpose.
Yeah.
Because as it stands right now, there is no way for two women to procreate.
Yeah. And in the more traditional sense, I've talked about it on here before. One thing I looked for in a husband or wanted in a husband was to feel safe and feel protected. That is the man's job. Mm-hmm. I do believe that. I feel like your husband or your partner, I mean, if you're not in a hetero relationship, then obviously things are going to look a little different. But I think it is his job to protect us.
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays it's fuck men. I hate men. Men are so, toxic and all this stuff. And well, yes, there are.
Yeah.
I am not going to disagree with that. I don't know. It seems so.
It's become muddled.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the goals of modern day feminism have really become quite blurry.
Yeah.
Whereas it was originally supposed to be, empowering women to be able to survive on their own without needing to have, a male spouse.
Yeah.
To provide for them. And I think that we reached that goal and then we went too far.
Yeah.
Because like I used to be like, oh yeah, I'm 100% a feminist. Mm-hmm. I believe that we should be equal on all important fronts. And for the most part, we should be sharing in society equal responsibility.
Yeah.
And equal economic availability, things like that. But I think we have now gone so far that I'm like, I don't want to consider myself a feminist because that makes me seem anti-man, anti-straight, because a lot of that has turned into, okay, well, we don't need men. If you're straight, and I've seen people talk about this, and I understand that not every feminist believes this, but I have seen a lot of feminists, people claiming to be feminists, saying, if you're straight, you're not a feminist.
Yeah.
And that confuses me.
Right.
It's like, why does the idea of being an empowered woman mean that you should not have a man in your life at all? Mm-hmm. At all.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that, nor do I support that.
Yeah.
Because, like, I love my husband.
Right.
I don't want to be married to a woman. Sometimes I'm like, I wonder if this problem would be solved if I was married to a woman.
Yeah.
But, I love my husband. And I love that, he is my protector and he is my rock. And when I'm sad and he hugs me, he envelops me.
Right.
Like, I am completely lost in his arms and his torso. And I love that. I love the feeling of his arms. His man arms are just so sexy.
Right. Yes.
Especially a working man's arms.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can I not identify with, I'm a feminist, women should be, in a place of holding power in society equal to men, but then I can't love my husband without getting looked down upon.
Yeah.
And obviously, like I said, it's not looked down upon by every person who identifies as a feminist, but a lot of the loud ones
Right.
tend to feel that way.
Yeah. It does seem very pushed.
Yeah.
So I think that if you get down to like science,
Okay.
what a woman is and what a man is. And I don't believe in God, but I believe in something spiritual. I believe that there is balance between men and women. women are the more emotional, caring, nurturing, and men are more of the protector, leader, builder type. So I feel like a little bit, okay, this is going to sound crazy, but I almost understand now when people are like, women shouldn't vote.
Okay. Hold on. All right.
Go with me.
I'm gonna
And
hear
that
you
women
out.
shouldn't be like of super high power.
Okay.
Because we do lead more with our emotions.
Okay.
Men can take that away just in their natural ability. Yes, there are way more emotional men. But in their, like, if we get down to their base, they do have an easier time with just going with the facts than I think women do. I think we put a lot of emotion into that. And I'm saying that as a woman. I think we put a lot of emotion into things. And so I think sometimes we don't make the best decisions, especially if we're talking like on a global level. I feel like we put a lot of emotion into things. And so we can't just look at the facts and go based off of that, if that makes any sense.
I think I see where you're trying to go with it.
I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't have a right to vote.
Yeah.
But I understand when people say that because I know that
we vote on a compassion level instead of on a logic level.
Right.
Which I think is what a lot of people's issue. Now, I am not Republican, Democrat. I don't lean either way. I tend to be pretty firmly in the middle, and I tend to have opinions on both sides.
Yeah.
Same with being liberal and conservative. I tend to have opinions on both sides. And so I don't fit into either one of those categories. I don't fit very well.
Right.
I'm like a triangle trying to get into a circle. Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I can kind of get in, but I get stopped.
Right.
And so I think that's where a lot of people have issues with the left, liberals or whatever. A lot of those people consider themselves feminists, and they tend to think a lot with compassion.
Yeah.
Which there is not anything inherently wrong with that, but there does come a time where there becomes too much. Just like the far right, they have gone way too far with I am only going to go off of my, firm beliefs in things. Like the far right tends to be very Christian, tends to be very conservative.
Yeah.
Very traditional. Whereas the far left tends to be very, we're going to move forward and all be equal. But in a society where there are different skill levels and different just opportunity,
right,
it does become very difficult to just believe that every single person should be treated as completely equal.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where, like, the feminists, which are, like I said, typically left-leaning, liberal Democrats, typically, they vote with that compassion, we're all equal in mind, and then that can have some detriment,
right,
as well. I think one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is there are a lot of people who actually used to lean Democrat, liberal, or whatever, and the whole everybody needs to be equal, so we need to equalize all of our language. And that kind of gets into like the gender equality and stuff of all the different gender identities and stuff too, where that side tends to want to be like, okay, well, we're going to be so equal that there is no individuality.
Yeah.
And, whereas the other side tends to disregard all of that all the way.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the people who are very far in one way or very far in another. One person, I actually really like what he had to say about it. His handle on TikTok, I believe, is Clarkson. He is a gay conservative, which sounds like an oxymoron.
Except those are the best.
So he's someone that he kind of sits right in the middle, where he tends to obviously like you know, he doesn't fit perfectly into a conservative because he's gay.
Right.
You know, he also believes that people should be able to be who they want to be within reason.
Yeah.
You know, and so one of the things that he said recently that I thought was really interesting was society nowadays is starting to put more emphasis on identity than individuality.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I think that that does stem originally from the feminist movement. And not saying that like it all is just feminism is to blame, but I think that's where a lot of that started.
Right.
And one example of this is, so I don't like my ex-stepdad, but I am going to use this as an example because it's something that was years and years and years ago. So he used to work at a port in Washington, and they had like a system that was like you start as a C man, then you can move up to a B man and an A man. And it was like you only got the opportunity to move up after a certain amount of time or whatever. Well, he was a B man, I want to say, at the time, and he was up for promotion, but he didn't get it, and the person who was hiring for that promotional move up specifically told him that they had to hire either a black person or a woman.
Oh, yeah.
And that
To make it equal.
yes,
Right.
that they had to meet a certain quota. And that came to mind when Clarkson was talking in his video where we were talking about how identity, what you identify as a person of color, a woman, a man, a transgender, a peacock, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever you label you're identifying yourself as has been, there's more importance put on that than there is about just who you are as a person and your qualifications to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
And like I said, I feel like that stems from feminism where we were like, well, you need to empower me because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And I think that that does inherently have some good, but also some problems.
Yeah. And I think like on the whole equal thing, I almost think that saying that men and women should be equal is a detriment to both.
I think so too.
Because there's things that women can do that men cannot do.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. And so I think by saying that we're just all equal, it really like negates those things.
Yeah. And I think that people took equality to mean perfectly equal. When the original concept was just that opportunity should be equal. Like if there is a single mom, or just a single woman, I guess is more accurate, or a single man, that there shouldn't be any reason that person needs to get married to get certain opportunities or certain benefits.
Right.
And that stemmed from women not being allowed to work, so they had to marry in order to even be able to live a decent life.
Yeah.
And so that's where all of that stems from. And then, you know, we obviously were like, okay, well, we don't want to have to get married to a man.
Yeah.
We want to be able to, God forbid, I'm not attracted to men, or I haven't found someone. I shouldn't have to live at home with my parents until I'm 35, or God forbid my husband is a toxic piece of shit. I shouldn't have to continue to be married to him.
Right.
In order to live, I should be able to work and provide for myself. And I think that ideology is beautiful.
Right. I agree with that.
I think that is perfect. That is what should have happened. And we got that. We do. We have that now. We have the ability. We can work any job a man can work as long as we have the skills and the qualifications to do so. I don't think there is inherently any job that is strictly men.
Right.
Or even vice versa, strictly women for the men also out there.
And I think we got to that place and it was good, and then we kind of jumped overboard.
Yes.
Because now, like what you were saying about the port, it's like before we just wanted it where a man and a woman walk in for a job and they don't just get chosen because, oh, you're a man.
Yep.
You look at the qualifications, you look at their performance, and you say, oh, you know, this one's better because of their performance.
Yes.
Now it's a man and a woman walk in and it's like, oh, well, we're a little low on women this quota this month, so we're going to hire the woman because she's a woman, so we look better that we're hiring women, we're inclusive. And I think that's another detriment. Like,
Yeah.
but maybe you're knocking out the person that would have done the job better. Not saying that you can't be trained to do a job better,
Of course.
but you know what I mean.
And a lot of people with the inclusivity, they kind of base it off of, well, not everybody has equal opportunity. And I 100% understand people being born in situations that definitely lead to less opportunity.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that should negate the person who did have that opportunity and was able to get the qualifications needed, because
Right.
I don't really see a point in having qualifications for something if we're just going to say, well, the qualifications don't matter because we need to be inclusive.
Yeah. Because then what's the point of anything?
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people are seeing now, is that inclusivity is starting to cause this exact problem.
Yeah.
Where they're like, well, we had to hire X amount of people of color or X amount of women or whatever the quota is. It's typically one of those two groups, because nobody's black and white men, right?
Right.
Nobody's lacking in that department, so it's not about them.
Except now you see that they're almost trying to push, if you are a white man, they don't want you. Regardless if you are, you know, I hate to use the term good or bad, but in their eyes, good or bad, you know? It's just, oh, you're a white man? Well, then get out of here because you are a bigot. You are, you know what I mean?
You're automatically,
now you are being targeted.
Especially when you add in the buzzword cis. If you are a cis white man, you are just automatically, people are judging you, and automatically people are mad at you and think that, well,
you're against them.
Yep.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have the right to have XYZ. Like, I have seen so many different TikToks, because that's typically where I see these kinds of things, where people are getting mad at cis straight white men, strictly for just being exactly that.
Yeah.
And demonizing it. I've seen videos of moms hoping that their white sons are either not cis or not straight. And the issue that I have with that is, it's like, why can't we just love people for being the people that they are?
Right.
And, you know, help people where they need to be helped, but not want them to be in a minority that would then give them entitlement.
Right. And in this world would also give them benefit nowadays.
Yeah.
You know.
Because a lot of those things come with that entitlement. There are entitlements to being a woman.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to sit there and claim that I have obtained different benefits that I haven't obtained, or that I've had different hardships that I haven't had. Like, I've heard of different things of, like, women being like, oh, well, there's a universal woman experience where I can't even go outside without feeling threatened. And it's like, I don't experience that. And I know that not everybody does. Granted, also not everybody doesn't. But I don't think that we should take these things as a universal experience.
Right.
Or expecting everybody within a specific group to have a universal opinion.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that, like, again, bringing up Clarkson, that he talks about, is that just because you share an identity with somebody doesn't mean that you also share all of their ideals.
Right. And I think another huge thing is, as a society lately, I feel like it's either this is true or this is true. And people forget that multiple things can be true at the exact same time.
Yes.
A traditional woman can be just as good as a working woman. And I think, like you were saying, that was the initial intent of feminism, is like, if you want to be at home and if you want to let your husband be the breadwinner, then that's how, you know, that's great. But if you need or want an opportunity to work and be independent, here's your opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's one or the other.
Yeah, I don't know either. And I don't know. It has just gone too far. And it's not just feminism anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That is just, at least what I believe, was the root.
Like the catalyst.
Mm-hmm. You know, that was the flick of the domino.
Mm-hmm.
It stemmed, or it created all of these other opportunities for other things to come in and piggyback off of it.
Right.
You know, all of the other minorities, because women, I guess, was considered a minority, even though population-wise it wasn't, but status-wise it was.
Yeah.
To come in and say, well, now I want these rights. Well, now I want these things. And then those things ended up it wasn't enough anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people say, like, when you are so used to being the victim or so used to being oppressed, like many women were back before feminism really became a thing, you tend to identify with it, and then equality looks like oppression.
Yeah.
And then you just are expecting to get more. And I think that's what's happened
Right.
with modern day feminism and all of the things that have come after.
Yeah.
Is that now there is a sense of entitlement. So much so that there are people who identify as feminism or feminists that feel entitled to the opinion of, we don't need men anymore.
Right.
And I think that's the trigger right there, is we've now gone so far as to full circle, men being like, well, women are just
Nothing.
they're an object.
Yeah.
They clean my house. They give me my children.
Right.
That is my legacy. To now, we are almost saying the same thing, where we're like, men are nothing except to give me children.
And I think media also portrays like the traditional family as the woman hates her life at home and the man doesn't give a shit about her and is just like expects everything from her. But I don't think that was always how it was. And I think for the majority that wasn't it. I think it was, you know, the husband respected the wife and she was home and was taking care of his kids, and he, you know, loved her and cherished her for what she was bringing to the table. And I think the wife respected the man. He was going out and bringing home the bacon, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I've said and you've said, yes, women need the opportunity to work because that's not always the situation. You're not always in a hetero relationship. You're not always, you know, with a good man. You're not always, you know, maybe you just truly don't want a man. And that's totally fine. I think that you should have those other opportunities. But I just don't agree with the traditional family being looked down upon as like, oh, well, your wife sits at home and does nothing and you don't respect her and she hates you because you're an asshole.
Yeah.
I don't think that's always how it is.
It's like forming an opinion based on something strictly for what it looks like.
Yeah.
And that was something that I think was part of the goal to get away from. And
Yeah.
then, like I said, it's all coming full circle where we're now feeling those same things again.
Right.
With just a different perspective. And it's like, I don't even really know how to explain it. It's like, if you are unwilling to understand the purposes behind something, you are doomed to repeat history.
Yeah. Because if you look way back, I'm sorry, but women's roles were the caring, nurturing, taking care of, bearing children. That's always been their task. That's what we were designed for.
Yeah. Even if you look at like, just, you know, back to kind of biology, and I'm not talking about like, we have a uterus and they don't, but I'm talking like actual, like in the animal kingdom, because
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking
we
about
are
this whole
apes.
time too. Yeah, yeah.
Whether you want to believe it or not, we are apes. And if you look at other apes, the females are the childbearing, they take care of the children, whereas the men are the ones that are the protectors. Obviously, they don't go out and work.
Their desk job 9 to 5.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, apes tend to not go out and hunt, so there's not going to be like a breadwinner per se. And so that rule doesn't quite transcribe in both ways. But the gender roles do just kind of go down to protector, nurturer. And science agrees.
Yeah.
you know, and you can't just try to diminish one without having a detriment to the other.
Right.
Because if you try to completely get rid of that protectiveness, then the world becomes so nurturing that everybody becomes literal children and is entitled and, well, I want this, I want that.
And I'm going to get it.
And I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people say that, you know, liberals are snowflakes and they are entitled and whatever. That's also why gentle parenting gets a bad rap, is because we're seen as overly nurturing, and now our children are entitled brats.
Right.
You know, and so that's why I don't follow gentle parenting to a T.
Yeah.
I am not the most nurturing mom in the world. My children know. You get the look.
Right. The mom look.
You stop.
Yeah.
Or else that you're gonna get all your shit taken away.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna go to your room. You're gonna stay there all day.
You may not get hit in my house, but I can make your day bad.
Yeah. I can make your day just as not fun.
Yeah.
But, you know, so all of, like, you know, and then same on the other side. If you get rid of the nurturing, then everything becomes hyper aggressive.
Right.
Which is what you often see on the far right.
Yeah, exactly.
You get the people who are so traditional that they're like, well, we shouldn't have to worry about women. They should just be doormats. And I should be able to throw a stone at my wife if she cheats on me type thing, or if I think she did. Whatever.
Right.
And I feel like we're talking a lot about the left and Democrats and liberals and not as much about the right. But I want to make it very clear that I don't agree with a lot of the stuff on the far right either.
Yeah.
This topic just happens to pertain more to the left.
Yeah.
In this specific instance. Maybe in a future episode we'll talk more about something that is like absolutely asinine on the right.
Right. Because I feel like I'm pretty in the middle about this topic, but I do lean a little bit more right on this topic.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of sit, like I said, right in the middle. I mean, I am a relatively traditional wife, but I also do expect my husband to help with the housework.
Exactly, yeah.
I do expect him to help with the child rearing to an extent. You know, I do expect him to not hold the fact that he is the breadwinner of our house over my head and use it as leverage.
Right.
He is also not the primary decision maker in our house. I am.
Yeah.
He is not the primary financial person in our house. I am. He doesn't even know the password to like any of the bill information despite having access to them.
Right. That's the same in our house.
You know, it's because we have determined as a family unit that I am better with those things.
Yeah.
I tend to be the more logic thinking one, which then puts our family unit a little bit more similar to that on like the left.
Right.
So when I say I sit in the middle, I sit in the middle. I don't disagree wholeheartedly or agree wholeheartedly, which almost makes me an enemy of both sides.
Yeah.
I have come to realize.
Right.
Because I have like voiced my opinion on things before and then been accused by both different sides of being a snowflake from the people on the right or being a Trumpy from the people on the left.
Yeah.
And it cracks me up.
I just don't understand why, like I said before, two things can be true. You can agree with some of the more conservative side and you can also agree with some more of the liberal side. And I don't know why our society is so like ingrained, gung-ho, whatever you want to say, and like you have to choose.
Yep. We see that in our government too.
It's awful.
It is very one party.
It's awful.
I mean, I know we have the two parties, but I mean like each individual bill that gets passed is very heavily suited to one side over the other. Right. And it becomes it's not even a bartering anymore because they aren't agreeing. It's you either vote yes on this or it's not happening.
Yeah.
And that's not what we were designed to have. And I think that reflects our society a lot is because we were originally supposed to be just even in the sense of everybody can come to some sort of agreement.
Yeah.
And there's compromise.
Yeah.
But instead, people have now become entitled to their opinion and saying, well, I have a right to my opinion. And that somehow has translated into well, you have to agree with my opinion or you disagree with me as a person.
Yeah.
And that kind of falls in with the identity over individuality, that identity, that idea.
Yeah.
If you disagree with that one aspect, you disagree with me as a whole. And I don't like that.
I don't either.
I don't
think it's fair.
Yeah, no.
I think all in all, we just have to, yes, respect women. Yes, allow them to have rights. But I also think that we can't diminish a woman's right to do what they can do, like, on a biological level.
We have to find a balance.
And I think we have to find a balance between every home. You know, my home looks a little bit different than your home. Then that looks a little bit different than my mom's home, than my grandparents' home. Like, all of our homes look a little different. And I think we have to find what works inside that space. And I think we also need to stop thinking opinion is fact.
Yes.
Because I have a lot of opinions that doesn't make them fact.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like you can make decisions based off of your opinions.
Right.
But decisions should not be made solely on opinion. They should be based more so in logic and fact.
Yeah.
And then two conflicting decisions, I guess, should then be, after logic and fact has been brought in, opinion.
Yeah.
You know, like, let's boil this down to something that is completely unrelated. Let's say you're wanting to take a trip to Bora Bora. I don't know.
Okay.
You're trying to figure out what flight you want. Let's say there are two identical flights in the sense of they cost the same, they take the same route there, and roughly they leave at the same time, same duration, whatever. Realistically, they should be, you know, it's going to be kind of a hard choice because they're identical. Now that you have logically thought about that and seen that logically and factually the two flights are identical, you can be like, well, my mom has always had better experience with Delta. I don't know.
Right.
I actually don't know, but my mom uses.
I have no idea. I use whatever's cheap.
Yep. But let's say it's like Delta in Alaska, I guess. Let's say, I've never taken a flight before, but these two flights look identical. My mom has always used Delta, so I'm going to use that.
Right.
That's when opinion comes in.
Right.
And I feel like that same steps to a decision can be applied in most circumstances.
Right.
Taking fact and logic into account before opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that society does the opposite in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Where they will just take their opinion, use that for their decision, and then disregard fact and logic.
Yeah. Because I think, like, if I think about our situation in my house, I knew that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
Me too.
And so when I was pregnant, I actually was thinking, I probably can't be because I need to make money. And so once I brought that attention to Michael, we sat down and we figured out, okay, is it plausible for me to be at home? Can we afford it? Will we have like too much hardship if I don't continue working? No? Okay. So then I can go ahead and go and be a stay-at-home mom and I can quit my job and whatever. Had we have done that and we saw it's just going to be too hard, I would have kept working.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's like the thing that people don't understand is like, sometimes you don't get what you want.
Yeah.
In this instance, yes, I did get what I wanted, but
because it worked.
Logic
and fact were on your side already.
Yeah.
You didn't have to change logic and fact, which in most cases cannot just be easily changed.
Yeah.
If changed at all, obviously circumstances as far as like what job Michael has or whatever can be changed.
Right.
But in that moment, you didn't have to change it. It worked out.
Right. And I'm also somebody who, if down the line it stopped working, I would go back to work. And that side of feminism, I'm grateful for, that I would be able to go back to work. But I don't think that I should have, it's almost like having your rights taken away of being a stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
It's almost like what people are, or society's pushing for. I don't know if people are, but society and how expensive things are and all that is pushing for is that, like you said in the very beginning, how it should be a 2-person income household. No matter what your guys' status, kids or not, should be. And
that's slowly starting to go away.
yeah.
And not even because society is saying you can't, but economy
Economy is saying you can't.
Yeah, and it's like, and that takes away that right. And it, you know, a lot of that is rooted in the fact of, well, women can work, so they should. But not everybody wants to. A lot of people want to raise their kids themselves versus sending them to daycare for X amount of hours.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people see stay-at-home parents or stay-at-home people in general as being very privileged. And I do understand that. But I don't think that that makes it wrong.
Yes.
You know, and I feel like when people see that somebody has a privilege that they don't have, they automatically think you're wrong, you're bad, they
demonize it.
You are making me out to be, you know, this bad poor person who can't afford to do that. I'm just doing what's right for me.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like if they see something they want and can't have, and I'm not saying they as any particular group, so don't come at me saying, oh, you mean these. No, just they as in the person with this opinion, whoever they are. Seeing somebody who has something that they don't have, and it doesn't matter what that something is. They get mad at the person for having the opportunity to get that thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, at a root level, everybody has the same opportunities.
Yeah.
There are just different skills or qualifications in or
Desire.
in place to get that thing. Opportunity does not mean you are entitled to have that item
Right.
without working towards it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people have turned the word opportunity into meaning is, well, I don't have the opportunity to have that. It's like, you do. You have the same opportunity to apply for the same jobs, to go to the same schools within reason.
Right.
Obviously, schools that are regulated by like GPA and stuff, you know, that's obviously going to be a factor. But it's like, technically, you have the opportunity to get that GPA.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what that's what people mean when they say everybody in America has the same opportunities. We all have access. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have the skills or the qualifications. And we have to work towards those skills or qualifications in order to achieve something.
Right. And for some people that might be easy, and for some people that might be extremely difficult. But the opportunity is still the same.
Yes.
It's still there. It's still up for grabs. Some people may have to bust their ass to get to it, and some people might have an easy in. And while that doesn't seem fair, I think that is fair. That's being equal in my eyes.
I would agree, especially because a lot of times the people who do have that leg ahead were often given that leg ahead by their parents or parents before them or whatever. Everybody started as a baby.
Yeah.
Nobody was there wasn't ever somebody who their parents were in poverty and then their child, while they were still in poverty, was born a millionaire.
Right.
That has never happened.
Right.
That growth had to have come from somewhere. Somebody worked hard to get something.
Yeah.
And then they end up passing that down to their kids.
Yeah.
And people see that, well, this person has more opportunity than I do because they're rich. It's like, okay, but that had to be earned. Yes,
Right.
It was maybe earned generations ago, and maybe this person, Jimmy John, didn't earn it himself.
Yeah.
But
The generational wealth comes into play then.
which
And
then
it's-
same thing,
Yeah.
you know, let's say somebody from poverty, that is also generational.
Right. Yeah. And it's so hard because I can understand seeing somebody who has generational wealth, especially people of like really, really high status, like millionaires, billionaires. Like, I get it. You look at them and you're like, okay, but their daughter, their son never did a damn thing and they're just living off all this money.
Yes.
Sorry, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Their family prepared for this. Their family took these steps. Maybe they weren't moral, maybe, you know, whatever. But they took those steps and they got to this power. And I mean,
it all
everybody has that opportunity.
We all started as cavemen.
And I was just talking to my friend Taylor's partner, and him and I were talking about how, like, we no longer root for, like, a friend to be successful anymore.
Right? We
like,
look down on it.
We look down on it because we feel bad that we don't have it. So, like, if tomorrow you and Thomas decided to start a business and it took off and you guys became billionaires, and then I'm sitting in my feels being like,
that should have been me.
That should have been me. And they only got that because of X, Y, Z.
They got lucky.
Yeah. Why do we do that? You know, like, why can't I just be like, oh my God, that is amazing for you. That is incredible for you. But instead we get in our feels and we feel shitty about it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that comes into play in a lot of things in life.
It does. And that specific topic, like when we went to Maverick's party, we went to a carousel. We talked about this recently. But there was this, like, ring game or whatever that, like, you snatch a ring, and if you get a specific ring, you get a free ride or whatever.
Right.
My daughter, who is very short for her age, couldn't quite reach it, and she only ever caught one, and she would get really upset if she missed it. Well, one girl a few back from her ended up getting that specific ring. I think it was like brass or gold, or I don't know. I don't care. The specific ring. She got it, and Anna got upset. Yeah. And I was like, hey, let's not be upset that we didn't get it. Let's be happy for that girl who did, because she looks really excited. Let's be happy for her. Right. And I was trying to instill that, you know, just because you didn't get it doesn't mean that we can't be happy for somebody else. Yeah. Even if we don't know that person.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it sucks when you don't get something and somebody else gets it over you. But I think, like we've said multiple times now, that opportunity is still there for every person. And I think, honestly, to wrap this podcast up, I think that's the biggest thing we need to focus on, is just understanding that the opportunity is there. You may have to work harder than the person sitting next to you, but at the end of the day, like, you know, you got to do what's right for you, and you got to not be mad at the person next to you who may be getting the things that you want.
And just knowing what genuine equality is. Right. And seeing the points there that what it's actually trying to mean versus what people tell you equality should look like. Yeah. Because equality does not mean everybody has the same things.
Yeah. It's like that one meme picture of, it's like there are 3 people trying to look over a fence, and they give each one of them a small box to stand on, but some of them still aren't tall enough, but the one person is taller, and that's equality. And then it shows, like, something else where it's like, now this short person gets 5 boxes so they can see over the fence, but this person still only has 1 box. And people think that's what equality is. Yeah. If I find it, I'll send it to you and we can put it up here.
Yeah. Equality doesn't mean they're all looking over the fence. Yeah. It means that they were all given the same means in hopes that they can. Right. That doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to.
Yeah. Yeah. But I hope that you guys understand where we're coming from. We're not trying to swing either way. Honestly, I feel like we're pretty in the middle about things.
Some of you guys listening may completely disagree.
And that's true.
These right-wing Republican assholes.
Yeah. But,
all right. Label me how you want.
Yeah. I think just, you know, each household, it's going to work for them how it's going to work for them. And each person, it's going to work for them how it's going to work for them. And I don't think that we should be damning others who do it a little bit differently than us.
I also think that we shouldn't be damning others who have a difference of opinion.
That too.
Now, if the opinion is that you shouldn't be alive, then obviously you can dislike that opinion.
Right. There's limits to everything. Yeah. So, well, I think that wraps it up.
Curious to know what you guys think. Yeah. This is, like I said, or like we said, a very controversial subject. It's not something that I think a lot of people are going to agree with us on, but there might be some that do. Yeah. hopefully if you're somebody who initially was like gung-ho about feminism in the way that society has portrayed it, you know, maybe we opened your eyes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're somebody who is completely on the other side, maybe we opened your eyes a little bit to at least look at feminism as not all bad.
Right.
You know, so maybe someday we can find true equality where everybody gives the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, and by gives, I mean like we're all compromising to come to a collective unification.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
We'll see. Probably not within my lifetime, but
yeah.
maybe someday we'll, as a society, get our shit together.
Yeah. So I guess we will see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.